the myth? The myth of breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Why is that?
It's not a myth.
Well,
actually.
Is it really the most important meal of the day?
Yes.
Please explain.
Okay. So, breakfast really is actually the most important most important meal of the day, because it helps you, like, considering we live in a modern age, most kids on the child and teenage basis, most kids they should be eating breakfast in the morning, and that will help get their brain working for school. And if they don't exactly do that, their brain will be more sluggish, and they will start having a harder time concentrating.
Well, I beg to differ as a high schooler, because me being a high schooler, I have to hurry up and run out the house, and when I get to school, they have breakfast at school, but the breakfast is expensive. And it's very worth it. It's kind of crappy almost, because it's like if you want to eat, then you have to pay. And what if someone doesn't have enough money? So that's how I beg to differ, because it tastes horrible too. So,
well, you have a point there, because in middle school, our breakfast is bad. Like, they have breakfast carts in which you get a little card with your name on it, and you put it in a basket, and you go and get breakfast. And they have little tiny, little tiny cups, little tiny cup cartons of apple juice and orange juice, and sometimes like a weird fruit punch, and it tastes really weird. And they just have really bad food, because they like throw the food on there, and then they throw like the sporks that they have like next to it, and then people just line up, and then they put their thing inside of the basket, and then they go and get their food. So
I remember those days. I hated them. Yeah. So now can you please break down brunch, because I really don't understand it. There's no need for brunch. It's either lunch, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, pretty much.
Well, brunch is actually brunch is breakfast and lunch. And its roots is British from the 19th century. But once the late 20th century started happening, a lot of Americans started doing it, because after World War II, people, the economy started going a lot more, and people were able to, get more jobs, and they had longer times, or they had shorter times of work. So they didn't actually have enough time to eat. So once they finally had their break for lunch, they were like, well, since we didn't eat breakfast, why don't we eat breakfast and lunch at the same time and do what the British were doing and make brunch.
Wait, what is the time for... I thought brunch was the AM, and I keep on forgetting that it's more of a between 11 and 1.
Yes, it's pretty much lunch, but you're eating breakfast.
Or 11 and 13, because some people don't read the same time as we do.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way. So it started here when?
It started here after World War II, when the economy started.
So the early 20th century.
Yeah, the early of 20th century. The British were using it. The British were doing it a lot, especially during the Victorian era, because all of the more higher up, richer people, I don't know what they were doing. They were doing some stuff, and I guess they weren't eating breakfast on time, so they were like, hey, let's just combine breakfast and lunch together and eat it in the middle of eat lunch food in the middle of the day.
I don't think that's what happened. I think they were just eating to eat. But yeah. So, and dinner, is there anything special about dinner? I mean, other than you need to eat before you go to bed?
I think so. Have it on here. So, many back in like the BC and the AV, they had the Romans. The only meal that they actually would eat, they would call it dinner, but it was actually like during the time of lunch. So they would eat that's like the only time they would be eating, because for some reason they thought it was like glutinous to be eating on more than it was gluttonous to be eating multiple times a day, since you're just eating constantly. So they like, well, we're just gonna eat this one time for like the whole day, and we're just gonna call it dinner, but it was pretty much lunch.
So they had two meals a day.
No, they had one meal a day.
So it was just
yeah. And the British, like always, they were being British, especially during the Victorian era, and they had a whole bunch of lavish dinners where they would put a whole bunch of food on a table around, actually way bigger than this table actually, and the table would be filled with a whole bunch of food, and they would be eating it until they got ridiculously fat. So they had, they had a lot of rooms in their houses, where they had like a breakfast room and a dinner room, and I guess that was just for like the different places to keep things more orderly. So you would have breakfast over here and dinner over there.
I wonder what like the peasants were thinking when they like saw these things. It's like they have a room full of food and a room full for a certain time of day for that food, and we're over here eating mushroom soup.
Well, they ate less foods, but they ate their food at around the same time. The British ate food, which was around the time that the Romans ate food, which was pretty much lunch.
But I mean, like the British lower class people who are more like living off 5 cents a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems kind of wacky to me. But that's history, so.